Things change. America may have evolved over the last 100 years, but our collective choices continue to make manhood precarious. It was my first Father's Day after a long and financially devastating divorce had come to a tortured conclusion. Two of my three children chose to move in with me full time just a few weeks earlier. My youngest, a creative artist, was trying to safely navigate the push and pull of two very separate dwellings instead of a traditional single home. Waking to the quiet of that Sunday morning, the hope of a new day's light just starting to warm our small apartment, I found his present and this note on our kitchen table. My divorce and its aftermath is easily the greatest challenge my masculinity has ever faced. It was 3.5 years of living in a relentless state of hypervigilance and constantly trying not to doubt myself as a father and as a good man. Looking at my son's gift that morning, I realized my little family was going to make it. I was going to make it too. This Father's Day was my Independence Day, a chance to find the real me, uninhibited by accusations that I was dangerous, harmful to my children, that I was a failure as a father, as a husband, a provider, as a man. I mean, that the critics in my head and all around me were going to suddenly disappear just because of a divorce decree. Reality was still going to be a challenge to my masculinity and my self-identity. But I was officially a single dad. I'd left behind a 4-bedroom, 2,400 square foot center hall colonial for an 800 square foot apartment. My children occupied our home's only 2 bedrooms, and I slept on a futon in the living room. A business I had purchased was in financial ruin. I lost everything I invested in it. And none of the corporations I was applying to for lucrative marketing and communications roles seemed to think that I was relevant. Things change. Life goes on. I purposely hung my son's painting in that apartment's hallway. Those words floating in outer space were to be a daily reminder about how the universe was challenging me. The soul of the man I was, and not the man others said I was, could only be found in how I responded to these cosmic shifts. That's what Tim McGraw understood when he decided to include Things Change on his 2001 album, Set This Circus Down. Firstly, McGraw saw the changes happening in himself. For 6 years, he'd been riding high. He was the black hat with tight abs, carrying the banner of a new generation of cowboy crooners. He was a celebrity, a heartthrob, and was winning music awards. He had also won the heart of and married Faith Hill, a woman gracing the covers of popular magazines. He was the father of 2 girls, with a 3rd daughter on the way. Fame and success had so destabilized McGraw's identity that he was leaning on alcohol to buffer his lack of self-esteem, and he wouldn't go completely sober for another 7 years. Secondly, McGraw was very purposeful about collaborating on Things Change with the songwriters Marv Green, Chris Lindsay, Bill Luther, and Amy Mayo to address the criticism that was being leveled at singers like him and Faith Hill. At the time, a group of very vocal writers, singers, and composers were decrying how the injection of rock and roll and pop styles was supposedly destroying country music. McGraw refused to back down and instead used this song to remind anyone who was paying attention that country music had a long history of innovators like Hank Williams, Elvis Presley, and members of the outlaw country movement of the 1960s and 70s who challenged tradition with their own unique talents and perspectives. Well, they liked to call them hippies, outlaws with guitars, but they brought a little poetry to the honky-tonks and bars. Hank Williams, Elvis Presley, and outlaws like Chris Christopherson and Waylon Jennings didn't see themselves as change agents in the country music world. They were just individuals trying to manifest their personal and creative integrity inside a rigid system. Until my divorce, I spent my adult life complying with the narrow expectations that earned me my man card. It wasn't until I was truly listening to things change in my family's new, much smaller home that the real Richard showed up again. I saw him in how I decorated the place, the holidays I hosted in my home, the meals I prepared for me and my family. After a few months, it all started to feel instinctual. I stopped doubting myself. No longer did I need to ask anyone for permission about how to be me. For the first time, I felt at home, in my skin, in my soul. I felt a kinship with Tim McGraw when I heard him sing. Now, some say it's too country, some say it's a little rock and roll, but it's just good music if you can feel it in your soul. This should be the guiding principle for men trying to face the conformity demanded by masculine norms. Do you genuinely feel that what you are saying, doing, thinking rises from a place deeper than how you've been socialized? Does the life you live feel true to you or something you're performing for everyone else or someone else? So many men today struggle with the changes happening in our society, which are having a very tangible impact on our ability to live up to traditional masculine traits and behaviors. Whether it's the workplaces occupying so many of our waking hours, the economy and professions we trained for that may not want us anymore, or what is expected of us in relationships and emotional expression. In the end, the only way we are going to be happy and truly flourish is if we feel it in our soul. What will be your ad lib fade? I have never counted how many times the two words things change are repeated in this song. But the one occasion we should all be especially sensitive to is when it follows the question, don't you know they change? Men are especially sensitive to changes involving status, identity, role clarity, and masculine legitimacy. We adapt more successfully when change is framed as competence expansion and self authorship rather than moral inadequacy. But the fact of the matter is, male identity, roles, and status are subject to how our world is constantly changing, just like music genres. Doesn't really matter. It's always been the same. Life goes on. Things change. We all lose when we resist change that builds on the past and broadens the horizons where we have the opportunity to flourish. If we cannot answer this question honestly, yes, I know things are constantly changing. I accept that things change, and I accept my responsibility to maximize everyone's ability to adapt to those changes, especially my own. Then we are doomed to suffer individually and collectively. There are so many verses in this song that resonate with me, especially as I was living through my first post divorce Father's Day. But the ones that mean the most to me are at the very, very end of Things Change. McGraw at this point is improvising underneath the background vocals, what musicians call an ad lib fade. Gene Miller and Chris Rodriguez are singing over and over Things Change, while the steel and electric guitars fill the same frequency range as the vocals. So you have to listen closely to hear McGraw put his personal stamp on the song and its message, telling everyone, critics and supporters, that he is committed to evolving as long as he can feel it in his soul. They can't keep me from changing. going to keep on changing because things change. We Americans kid ourselves that we've come a long way when it comes to freeing men from outdated expectations. And I have written about this repeatedly over the last 2 years of this Substack, including just last week on Father's Day. So many men, these tangible boundaries lead to everything we are supposedly concerned about. Male deaths of despair, suicide, loneliness, opting out of family building and relationships. I have one last question to add to Tim McGraw's. When are we as a society going to allow our expectations of men to catch up with the changes in our society that prevent men from meeting those expectations? Life will go on with or without our answers or the choices all of us make about masculinity. Me? I'm with Tim. I'm going to keep on changing. Thanks for subscribing and being a part of the mindful masculinity community. I hope that this year, as we enter our third year of this Substack, that you will take the opportunity to become a paid subscriber to support this mission to help men change, to help society change to a healthier definition of masculinity. We have a lot of obstacles in our way. We have social media algorithms that prevent this message from getting out because they would prefer us to be at odds with each other, to be at polar opposites in our opinions about masculinity and gender and how we can cause change that's good for all of us. The money that you contribute to this endeavor helps me overcome those challenges. And it's going to take a lot. One way for men to be a part of this movement is a program that is going to be starting in July called the Self-Governed Man. It is going to be a 4-week course being taught by myself and Damon Mitchell, a personal coach who's been working with men for years. And what we're going to do is help men explore the landscape of masculinity over time and into the modern era, and think about how those expectations and gender norms impact the way men think, the way they speak and act, and let men decide to self-govern their responses to themselves and society and the changes going on in society. I encourage men to send me a message here on Substack if you're interested in the program. We are finalizing it. We have the platforms we're going to be working on. Most of the curriculum or coursework is done. It is going to be an engaging, productive group of men coming together to redefine the way we thrive in society so that it is more genuine and authentic to ourselves and more of an opportunity to flourish and contribute flourishing to everyone in our lives. So look forward to talking more about that over the next few weeks and to launching the program very soon, because I'm hoping that this particular program is going to be a leaping off point for the kind of change we've all been hoping for. Thanks again for being a part of this community. I really appreciate your support. I appreciate your comments when you share my posts. But most important, what I appreciate is your commitment to seeing men and society flourish more. Thanks.